We've got a little bit of a twist today. It's not just myself, it is Caz, Bullock of the Caz and Daz show alongside with me. And we are interviewing Britt Smart, an American in Australia, one of the premier point guards in the WNBL, plays for the Canberra Capitals. We're really excited. So let's just get straight into it. Hello, Britt. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasant time of day for you. It's 7 o'clock in the morning for us, which we're just adjusting to, I think. But yeah, firstly, how are you doing? How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Just sitting here chatting with you guys, other basketball lovers, which I appreciate. And then I'm gonna go have a big dinner after this.
Oh, nice.
Ooh. What's on the menu? What's on the menu?
I know. Well, I have to think about it. I either have some chicken I could make, but I'm really into my red meats. So it could be just some like beef burger patties, No. Usually without the bun.
We may jump around a little bit during this interview, but firstly, how's the hub working? I nearly said wubble, but it isn't quite. How's the W hub or the hub working out for you?
Maybe we can call it like the hubble.
See, that was my thought last week.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's 3 different hubs. We're in far north Queensland in Australia, and there's 3 different places. So we started in Mackay for 2 weeks, and then we went to Cairns for a week, and then now we just got to Townsville for the remainder of the season, which will be around 2 to 3 weeks. So each of the 8 teams kind of had their own schedule. They're kind of at different, cities or each of the 3 hubs at different times, just as long as we play each team twice. Though we did have to take 1 game out of each of our schedules because with the COVID situation with one of the places that one of the teams came from, they didn't have COVID. No one on the team did. But where they came from ended up being a hot spot for like a split second. So we'd have 1 team isolate for 7 days. And therefore, since this season's only 6-7 weeks, every team had to cut a game out. So now we went from just 14 games to 13, and then we'll have finals.
And of course, as we spoke about on the Caz and Daz show this week, it's a classic Aussie finals where we've got prelim finals, we've got second chance opportunities for the top 2 teams. How do you find that structure, that format for a finals?
In this situation, that's probably the best way to go because it is a shortened and condensed season. We don't have the time, the luxury to play each team 2 or 3 times. Usually it's the best of 3. So it's a little bit unfortunate because I do think with the game of basketball, at least, having a series really dictates, or you can really find out who actually is consistently the better team, not just a one-off kind of thing. Because sometimes you can get lucky in a game, not lucky. Every team here is good and deserves the win that they get. But it does show that, you don't have the luxury to kind of relax, take a game off, lose focus, and the best are able to lock into their game plan and execute. So in that aspect, it kind of is good because you have to put your best foot forward and that's all you get. I am more of a fan of the series, in the long run in a normal season, but I think this is definitely still a good option. And if you play well, if you end up, finishing the top 1 or 2 and you play well, you can go straight to the grand final. You don't have to play that prelim. So, there's a few options there. And if you do lose that first one, you're still able to have a second chance type situation. So there's enough wiggle room, I guess, to still find out really who is the best team this season.
Caz, anything before we dive into Britt's career history?
How's it been traveling between the hubs? Has it been okay? Are you able to go and explore the areas? You're not kind of just confined to being in the hotels?
Yeah, we're not confined, which is great. I think Queensland, the government has been, great, allowing us to still train and play in safe COVID zones with rules and, regulations, making sure we are doing the best thing, which is safety and health for everyone. But we still are able to go out and do some things, whether that's a different touring thing or going out in nature or, cafe or something, things like that. But still being mindful of the crisis that has been going on and making sure we're still following those regulations and things like that. But we are able to be out and about and a bit freer and I came from Melbourne, Victoria. So I was just like, this is a ton of freedom from what I've been used to, because it was quite strict there for quite some time. So, walking around without face mask was a luxury to me, and I was fine with that. So.
So obviously you now play in Australia, but that's not where your journey began. You're of course an American. You're from Ohio. When did you first start to pick up a basketball?
Like 3 years old. My dad was a coach, actually. So I just went to his trainings, and I have siblings as well, so we were all around basketball. But I guess for me, I just really enjoyed it and probably picked it up the most often. So I was introduced to it, when I was really young. My dad played in college. And my aunt played. She was a college player as well. So it's just kind of in the blood, or, you kind of follow what you see. And that was what was in front of me. And so, I've been playing since I was quite young, and grew up in Ohio and went to college in Ohio as well.
When did playing basketball become like a genuine, I can do this. This is going to get me places in life. I can go to college. This might even be a job overseas or in America, wherever. When did that become a reality for you?
The reality really wasn't until, I would say, in college, when I was sort of like, I could actually make this a professional career. But I think I knew I had some type of interest or motivation for the sport, even just through junior high. I was always playing, I was always loving it. And then junior high, I was like, okay, I think I could actually cause some damage and wreak some havoc in high school. And so then I started just putting like little goals, and my dad would help me as well. Just little goals in high school to where I could just be the best me, wherever that was, or make my teammates better, or win games, or just develop my game, create good habits, self-discipline, all of those things. I really started to hone in on those, starting like in junior high, knowing that I could have a good basketball career. And that's when I was thinking, even just those next 4 years of this could pay for my education. I could go to college. College hoops, as we all know, is massive in the States. So I wasn't actually looking beyond that. I was just like, high school basketball is huge. Let's dominate that. Summer basketball, AAU, is huge in the States. And I just wanted to like play with the best, be with the best, also be on a team where I feel like I could be myself as well and still develop and play a big role. And so that first goal was just to dominate high school and see what opportunities in college I got. And then, dominate college, but I wasn't sure where professional would lead or not. I just always worked hard. I was like, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm just going to work hard and always be ready. And that's when the pro career kind of just, I had a few opportunities, few tryouts, few gigs, whatever it was, got my first contract. And now 14 years later, I'm still playing. So that's just how I just kind of went with the flow year by year, and always just worked hard, because that's just who I was. I was like, well, I'm going to, whatever I do, I'm going to work hard and at least know I gave myself opportunities to do something. And it wasn't because I didn't try hard. It may not be because I'm not good enough or what the team needs, and that's just how it is. But it wasn't because I didn't really do everything that I could to prepare myself for opportunities like that.
So it took you to Cedarville, I want to say university, but I don't know if that's quite right.
Yep.
What was the college experience like?
College was great. My dad went there, and my grandpa was a professor there. My mom went there. My grandpa was like a librarian. So it was a very family-oriented type of choice. But I felt really comfortable with the team and comfortable with the coach. I felt like I could help make the team better, and I could also be myself and still be pushed. And it was a smaller school, but I was kind of okay with that, because you kind of have to be more versatile because you have to do more things. Going to a bigger school, I was nervous about being pigeonholed as just a shooter or just a whatever they wanted me to be. And I really wanted to have a versatile game. And I think that's actually what's helped me be able to play so long. I've been able to be maybe a defender on one team, a point guard on one team, a shooter on one team, a role player on one team, main scorer on some teams. So I think that ability and versatility came from college. So my college experience, it was really supportive. We were really team oriented, genuinely cared about each other and each other's success, which I think doesn't always happen in a team environment. So being there, like, I really, really enjoyed my college career. I think I developed a lot of skills. And then since it was family orientated and I stayed close to home, by the time that I ended up going to Europe, that was like a really good experience for me to, kind of branch out and see what the world is like and start traveling and things like that.
Did that being close to home, did that benefit you in any way during your college experience? Did you feel, I don't know, just more secure rather than if you'd have gone, so you're from Ohio, let's say if you'd have gone to California, which is quite a ways away?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was some of the reason why I went. I don't know if I was ready to go far away quite yet. Like, I think having those support systems really, I think, gave me confidence, really encouraged me to be the best player, but also to be the best person and to be kind and genuine and to be, just an authentic person, which allows, I think, for you to have success in whatever, vocation that you decide to do. So I think that surrounding it was all about who you were and what your character was like. And even though basketball was a lot of what I did in life, that it still wasn't who I am or why I was here. And that wasn't just the only thing pushing me in life was basketball. It was also like family life, and who you are inside, what type of heart, what type of person you are. And I think I really thrived in that environment. And I think that's kind of what has kept me strong going overseas, going to Europe, and then going to Australia.
What was your major?
Sports exercise. And then I had a minor in coaching. And then I went to a religious school, so I had a minor in Bible as well, which was theology classes, let me tell you.
So you had Bible classes as part of your college education?
Yep. That was a requirement for the school that I went to. So that was pretty interesting. And, it makes you think about other things and in a different way. Just kind of just adds to that whole worldview of different things. So in between, just the spiritual side and emotional side, a physical side, like, I think that, has a really good balance. Not that you have to believe every single thing of a certain religion necessarily, but it really, I think, does open your mind to more of the things that you can't touch and see, but you can feel, or that something's there, certain vibes, So I think it does make a well-rounded person to think about something that's deeper, maybe something that you don't fully comprehend, and then allows for good conversations as well, and learning, growing from other people and able to carry those over throughout Europe and stuff has been really good. It just, just another way to think and look at things in a different perspective.
In college, what was your best moment on the floor?
See, when I went to college, it was a small school, so it was NAIA, but I know there was a big game where I had 47 points and this other girl on the other team, I think, had like 44, and it was just kind of fun because you're kind of going back and forth, and you know how it is when you're watching an NBA game or something and someone catches fire, or even WNBL now, someone catches fire. It's really kind of fun to watch, but it's also fun to play in. So that was one of my definitely one of my highlights. Not that scoring is everything, of course, but it's something that sticks out to me.
And your team went, while you were there, so you went 126-16, which is a pretty impressive record to have. As you say, you wanted to be dominant. That's a pretty dominant record. And you were the 2007 NAIA Player of the Year. So how was that in your that was your final year. How was that, receiving that award?
Yeah, I think it was great. I think I worked hard during that whole season. I wasn't necessarily going for that award, but I knew if I had certain things in place and worked hard and made it a focus, that could be a possibility. But my first and foremost was the things that I focused on and little details. I knew that our team could win more, and therefore, it could, then the personal accolades could come along. But again, like I said, with our team, we were always team orientated first, where we wanted to see how far we could go with our team and how good we could, make each other. But that was a great honor. And we were a great team all those 4 years. We won all of the of our league championships and stuff like that. So it's good because once you know how to win, it's like you know what needs to be done to win. And it's hard carrying that over when you change countries and teams all the time and culture's already set in place. But with college, staying there for 4 years and stuff and to being able to develop something for 4 years straight and to, you know, have that award at the end or have wins like that, it's a really great accomplishment. That doesn't really happen too often. And that was one of the reasons why I also went to a smaller school as well, is, you know, going to NAIA championships, you could go all the way to the end and have a better chance of ending your career on a win or ending your season on a win, rather than just trying to make the big dance and losing right away or having such a smaller role. Not that it's bad. That was just kind of my thought process, you know, through that. But yeah, no, we had a great college run there where we had a lot of wins. And I think that kind of just kept fueling me to try and keep chasing that feeling these last 14 years. And it's happened some and it hasn't happened some, but I keep chasing it.
Do you still keep in touch with your teammates? Are you still?
Not as much, but I also just think me being so far away on a different, you know, time zone, different land, different countries, and moving a lot, that I think they're also there. Like the few times I've come home and gotten together with them, it's, you know, we're still kind of close. We have all those 4 years to, you know, remember by. But I think also in college, everyone's coming from different states as well. There might be a few that's from that hometown, but, you know, it's still like, I think half or more than half our team wasn't even from Ohio. So they kind of all spread out between like Kentucky or Virginia. We had a few from Texas, and you're just kind of all spread out anyways, quite a big country. But yeah, like there'll be certain like memories that pop up as well on Facebook or Instagram, and you'll kind of like reminisce those for a bit. But yeah, so they're always there, and they'll always kind of be there, because that's kind of really what launched me to have the ability to keep, you know, having basketball as my job and being able to travel. So yeah.
So after college, you came to Europe initially before heading over to Australia, playing professionally in Belgium. So how was that? You've been in your home state most, if not all, of your life, and then boom, you're in Belgium. How was that transition for you?
It was kind of a quick decision too. It was just an opportunity came and I just took it. But yeah, I was in Belgium for 2 years before going to Sweden for 4. But that change was quite a shock, I think. You know, I'm just like more of a small town country girl from Ohio, and then all of a sudden going to Belgium, where it's a foreign language, just everything's different. It was a culture shock a little bit at first. And, you know, the English, I think was tough. You know, like it was good. My coach could speak some English, but during trainings, it was all in French. So I had like a teammate translate to me, like during trainings when I just really couldn't understand it. A lot of times I could guess if they could use simple basketball words or, you know, some crossover words and stuff like that. But it was really, yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think that was the hardest thing, was the language in Belgium and the French language that they were speaking. Being able to relate to your teammates, showing that you care, to learning to be friendly, learning to have good facial expressions, learning maybe touch or feel with the high five, like all of those things, and how you carry yourself as, you know, that's how they will all know you. Do you come in with a smile? Do you work hard? Do you make sure your high fives, you can't say as much? Like, so I think that was just a really good habit for me to get into, is when I walk into a room, do people feel comfortable around me? Not that all eyes have to be on me, but whoever I'm by, am I making them feel comfortable in some way, even if I haven't even had the opportunity to talk with them? So that was probably the biggest thing that I learned in Belgium, was how I carry myself, how do I make other people feel comfortable, and how do I empower my teammates to know that I have belief in them, whether they understand me or not, or whether we don't speak too often.
I mean, you're able to, I say, stick it out for 2 years. Did your French improve? Did you become more comfortable, more fluent with your teammates?
Yeah, that I took French lessons so that at least knew I was trying. I wasn't great at it. And I could never really speak it, but at least helped me understand a certain conversation. So I could at least kind of nod and feel like I was trying and trying to be a part of their culture. And that really helped. And I just never, I think most places, it's kind of like freshman year in college. You don't want to judge how your whole college is going to be by your freshman year or the first time you do something, or you take a new job and it's your first day. You can't judge that the rest of the job is going to be just like your first day, because you just haven't get enough time to grow and be a part of it. And so that's why I ended up going there second year, was just like, maybe I'm not ready to go somewhere else and start over again. Let's see how this goes again when I go back the second year. And it was 10 times better. Not that it was bad, but I was just a little more comfortable, familiar faces. And, you're able to perform better as well when you're just a bit more comfortable off the court too. So that was the reason for going there twice and kind of staying there. And then, that was, that definitely helped, though, trying to get a part of the culture and showing that I cared not just about the team, but also to care about the team. You want to see where they're from and what they do and things like that.
Did you notice much of a difference between the European style of play as to when you were playing in university and college? Was there much difference?
Yeah, good question. I think what I noticed was just like, Americans are bigger, I think, in general. And more one-on-one, I would say. I think people, and I know that people say that, and it is kind of true, just the fact that I think we do work on that individual skill. We're highly skilled individuals, and you kind of pass and you try to break your person down. If you don't have it, you kick the ball, break the person down, So we're here, I think Europe and Australia is pretty similar as well, where it's faster. It's so much faster. I feel like there's like, a lot more running. And then people use the offense, the X's and O's, where we're looking for a specific shot. Not that the Americans don't. Just in general, they're moving the ball, so you don't stand. So it's actually in a way more tiring, even though, American basketball is the standard, so to speak. But the difference is it's faster with motion offense in Australia, and I think in the States, it is more one-on-one, even if the individual athletes might be, more athletic or bigger or whatever. There's just more of us, to go through. So that was probably the biggest difference in getting used to that quick style, and the timing of your offense and cuts is something I really had to get used to.
After Belgium, you went to Sweden, which, again, quite a different country and culture to what you'd experienced in Belgium and, of course, in America. But was the fact that Swedes famously speak fantastic English, did that make life easier for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was like another 50% easier, because I could connect. If you have an emotional connection with someone or a team, you're going to want to probably work harder for them. Not that I didn't try to do that in Belgium, of course, to the best of the ability and how I knew. But anytime you're able to communicate more, better communication, that's how you have relationship breakups, is when you can't communicate. It's the same thing with work relationships, team relationships. The more communication you have, the better you're going to be able to understand each other and where each other's coming from and what the intentions are. So that was huge, being able to have that and get that back in the team environment. And then off the court, there's a lot of off the court. There's travel, there's team dinners, there's all these things that you're doing. There's sponsorship stuff that you're doing with your team. And I was actually, I'm actually able to be a part of those conversations now. You're waiting in line for something and your team's telling a story, your teammate's telling a story, or you're wasting time somehow, or you're trying to make the time go. I can actually be more, involved with them and not have to stand or be on, as a bystander, just sort of on the side, not knowing what's going on and not being able to connect, or you're just sort of standing there listening. But I was able to do that more in Sweden, and like you said, because of their English, and they actually want to speak and practice their English, so that was huge. But I was there for 4 years, so I was able to understand a lot of Swedish by the end of it. I could never really speak it, but I was able to understand Swedish. I could respond in English, they could respond in Swedish to me if they wanted. And I actually started strength conditioning coaching in Sweden, so I would coach my classes in English, and some would respond in Swedish, some would respond in English, and I was still able to have a Swinglish conversation.
So let's talk briefly about your strength and conditioning, because obviously, pro basketball player, but you had this business on the side. How did you find balancing the two, and which did you enjoy more in Sweden, at least?
Yeah. See, in Sweden, I went there for basketball. Obviously, like sports, exercise, and health and longevity and all these things, were always in the back of my mind for myself as an athlete. And then when I started doing that, you start to share things. I'm just studying on my own, and then there's some gyms there and I meet some people, and then, they start kind of mentoring me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take a couple classes now. I've been around it, for a while. So just with all of my experiences from college and from Belgium and then Sweden, just continually to learn more about movement and learn more about, if I was in the top shape of my life, how good could I become if I never got tired, or if I got stronger, and so on. So started coaching, little classes there, just here and there whenever it worked my schedule. It was like one class a week. And I just did that for like 4 years. And then during my off season, I just stayed in Sweden a bit longer, and I was able to just pick up more classes. And during the off season, I would get more mentorship, like the head coaches of that gym would be able to help me out. And I just was just thinking, just get as much experience as possible on the other side of things as a coach's view and not just the players. And then I just continued to do that, always have something on the side of my basketball career, even if I wasn't getting paid for it yet, or if it was just a few classes a week, or during the off season, more classes or more mentorships or more internships or something like that, just to keep an interest going and something to fall back on, to at least know that I at least know I like this industry. I'm done playing basketball, or it's my off season, and I still have something to put that energy towards. And luckily, that secondary career supplements the first career of basketball anyways. So it goes hand in hand. So even when basketball is now secondary and health and strength conditioning is first, my first sort of, my income, that will still go hand in hand. I'll be able to relate and bring that experience, and I'll be able to relate to my clients, my future clients. Yeah. So I don't know what I liked basketball more, and I probably still like basketball more because that's where I put everything to. But the longer I've gone, the more I've appreciated the strength and conditioning, the health, the longevity, pain-free longevity. Something happens to me in a season. How do I allow my clients or teach my clients to avoid this or do this, or to prepare so you don't have to repair, kind of like I did in this situation, so you're kind of like going back and forth, and they're able to know like she's been through it. And I think, that will really translate to a lot of athletes. So, and it doesn't even have to be athletes. To me, life, you're an athlete if you do life. If you go up and down stairs, if you pick something up, everyone picks something up and goes up and down stairs, or picks up the kids, or goes on walks with the dogs. Or to me, life is playful and playing in different movements and all that stuff. So, you're an athlete. Everyone's an athlete, really.
I like that.
I'm going to take a lot of heart in that.
Yeah.
What was your best moment in Europe?
In Europe, my last year in Sweden, we won the Swedish championship, and that was pretty cool. Ending the season on a win. It was a hard-fought 5-game series, so it was the best of 3. And it was just really awesome because it was my 6th year playing professional. It ended up being my last year in Europe, and it was just like, oh, that's a great way to kind of go out of that and end on a high. And so I think that was probably the best.
We see when we watch games over here in Europe and stuff, there's a lot of support there from the fans. Like women's basketball is really embraced in Europe. Was that the kind of experience that you had while you were there?
Yeah, especially my last season. It was up in Northland, up like above the Arctic Circle in northern Sweden. It was just a whole different kind of like winter wonderland, of course, a little bit dark, but pretty cool experiences with like ice music and all the stuff. But people really got around basketball there, and we would have, it wasn't huge stadiums, but we still have 2,000 or so at every single game packed out. And we had our own little fan group who would do all these cheers and stuff. And again, just the vibes that you can give people, like we talked about before, and the energy that you can't necessarily see, but you can feel. So support system is huge, whether that's your family or your friends or whatever your goal for. And then for us, obviously our fans and people being in there is just pretty, you can really feel that. So it's obviously totally opposite from the situation I'm in now, with COVID restrictions and not many people coming in or being allowed to, and an empty stadium. So we're really relying on, our teammates only and our coaches only to be able to, you can't substitute fans and sponsors and supporters, there's no question, but to, really build that, type of connection.
Some of the games that we've seen, the bench has been loud. It's been very loud, which must be good.
Oh yeah. I think some of the times in our season so far where we kind of hit like a dead point, and you can hear, one of your teammates saying, "Don't even worry about that. You just keep going. Short-term memory. Next play. What's the next job? What's the next job? What's the next one?" So and then that's kind of what we focus on is. We'll enjoy a win, but we don't get too high on the win because we have a job just the next day. We play every other day now almost. And it's the same thing with the loss. Yeah, we lost that, but what's the next job? Okay, so this is our scout for the next one. So we'll learn from it. Let's take these 3 things from this win or this loss, and then what do we have to do next? And I think that's massive. And learning to do that even throughout a game, which is much harder. But yeah, I think that is massive. And then having those teammates where you're able to hear everything that they say, because a lot of times you don't hear them or you don't hear the coach. It is kind of actually nice, in some ways to be able to hear exactly like, hey, don't even worry about that, or you got this, or nice shot, nice defense.
So after Sweden, you went to where we're speaking to you from now, Australia, which again, above the Arctic Circle to basically a tropical country just south of the tropics. Explain.
Well, you go to the top, you got to go to the bottom, you just got to turn things around. You got to see everything, experience everything, so yin and yang, opposites, things like that. I don't know. I really just go year by year and see how I feel, what opens up. Obviously, like a lot of my friends and stuff have been playing in Australia for a while. And my agent had a lot of contacts in Australia too. So I'd actually been trying to get over here for a while just to play in the off season of Europe. And then I ended up coming here and ended up just staying and playing year round here in Australia. It is the tropics, but I went to Melbourne first. Melbourne's kind of cold. So I got my hopes up thinking I was leaving the Arctic Circle finally, even though I loved my time there, going to this warm place. And I'm like, it's actually kind of cold and they don't really heat the stadiums. So I'm like, I'm kind of colder here than I am in Sweden. They actually heated the place. Like, yeah, it was freezing outside, but they heated the place. But no, I mean, Australia, as you know, has had great basketball for years, and they always do well in the Olympics. They're usually always second behind the United States. Some great players coming from Australia, obviously with Michelle Timms and Lauren Jackson, Penny Taylor, and Liz Cambage, and Jen O'Hay. You could just go on, and all even the current ones that are in the WNBA. So like Leilani Mitchell and stuff. So, I have respect for the league, and I came here again, just working hard, hoping I could just be a part of it. And it's always fun. It's always a goal to kind of just compete at the high level and just see how long you can play, how good you can play, how much better you can still grow your game and grow other people's games. And again, have an experience and a humble experience of being able to play for so long and have it as a career and, kind of ride it out till there's no wave to ride, and then just keep going on with something else like strength conditioning. So, so half my career so far has been between Europe, and then now half has been almost here in Australia now. So I can't believe it, but yeah, 6 years here now in Australia.
So speaking about playing all year round, so you play, of course, currently for the Canberra Capitals in the WNBL, and now you might have to help me with this. Do you play for the Sandringham Sabres for the remainder of the season, or is that?
Yeah, I did. So when I first got there, I played in the second league. It's now called NBL 1. And that would go in opposite of WNBL. So it'd be NBL1, WNBL, NBL1, WNBL, NBL1, WNBL. So my first 3 off seasons, which were NBL1 seasons, the second league here, were with Sandringham Sabres. And then I played 1 off season with the Hobart Chargers. And then the last off season I took off. I just rested because I needed to rest. So so in between those second seasons, it was Melbourne Boomers and WNBL for 3 years, Sydney Flames for 2 years, and now Canberra Capitals. So, yeah.
And is that tough playing all year round without a break? Because even in the college season, you train in the off season, but you're not playing constantly for 12 months, essentially.
Yeah, it was hard. But it's hard to turn down contracts. And when you get to be paid for something that you love to do is great. But it can catch up with you. A lot of the second league teams, they understand that you are playing year round, so they will work with you on load management and things like that. So, and we do appreciate that. And that's something that they need to do if they want to be able to keep WNBL players or bring other American players over. I think they understand that at that level, they have to kind of balance the people who do play year round so that you don't, run their bodies into the ground, and also knowing yourself as an athlete and having that relationship with the coach, knowing that I am a hard worker, but to be able to work hard, I might have to modify this or change this, and building that relationship, which can be hard. So if you're going to a new team in the off season, second season, you don't want them to think that you don't care about the team and that you're not just as focused. It just has to look different. And most of the coaches in that league, they understand that because, everyone is trying to develop the WNBL, and to get people to the WNBL. So I think if you don't have that relationship with the second league, it's just not going to work. So they do a pretty good job of that here. But it is tiring. I think that's why I did take last season off. It'll be interesting with our WNBL season ending, here at Christmas time, when that NBL 1 season will start, what the COVID rules are, and what that all looks like, because I might have a 3-season break and want to play here coming up during the winter time. So we'll just see, or your summertime. So we'll see how that goes. But it can be tiring, but with some clubs, you're able to work around that load management, situation.
Word from our sponsors, Notch, the mark of achievement, and we are very glad to have them on board with Focus Hoops this year. They make fantastic bracelets that look super stylish and really help you celebrate your sporting achievement. They've just launched a basketball collection, and we're really excited to be on board with them. Let's imagine that you're a player. Let's say that you're Courtney Vandersloot. You got 18 assists in a single ball game, and you want a notch and a bracelet to commemorate that fact. Well, you can do just that. Customize it to your team colors, put the year that you achieved it, and get it the exact size that you need. There are a number of the colors available. Or maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're the coach of a basketball team. Let's just say that you're the London Tyrannosaurus Rex. Your team wears red. You had the league's most valuable player, the MVP, and you want to celebrate that. You want to award them with a great looking notch bracelet. Well, you can do just that. And you can get it saying MVP on the notch itself. That's the charm. You can get the colour you want. Gold is one that I'd go for if we're commemorating the best player in the league. We could even get the team logo, if it's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, let's say, on there. And present it in a beautiful presentation case. Huge thanks for Notch for coming on board Focus Hoops. In terms of the signing of the new CBA, which took place, was it last week before?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Do you think that there's scope to expand? The WNBL currently stands at 8 teams. Could that expand? And could you have a longer season, more in line with what we see here in Europe, where you or the players that come after you don't play for a second club in the NBL 1, or don't maybe go to Europe at any point, but just stay in Australia for the duration of a long season?
Yeah, it's a balance, because there's a lot of WNBL players that go to America to play during the off season instead of staying for NBL 1. And then there's a lot of girls who we've normally finished our season in like February, who go and finish a season in Europe to help a team either stay in their top league or, to also make some extra income and be able to travel and see Europe and play in EuroLeague or Euro Cup and have that opportunity and life experience. So I think WNBL does want to work with the international leagues. I think, eventually it might be like NBL, where it is a bit longer and it's a longer season and things like that. But I think it's just a bit different because I think with WNBL, we do have more of a crossover. I think there's a lot of WNBA top league, athletes, Americans that come to WNBL and then vice versa. I think so. The mix of WNBA and WNBL women is pretty high. NBA and NBL, there are Americans in the league, but not quite as many NBA players and NBL players playing, in the NBA. So I'm not sure to look exactly like the men, but I think eventually they do want to either add one more team. Therefore, that's going to add a lot more games. I think they really would love to have a Queensland team. I think that would be good. There was one for a little bit, I think SEQ, but it just didn't stick. And there was a Logan team, I think, as well. So I think, that would be really good. Even if it's just a Brisbane team, another team would be able to then have more games, therefore a longer season and maybe, a bigger chunk, and people can also get paid longer because maybe the season does go for a month longer. And then therefore, if it's a month longer, some players may just want to stay, and, Australia can keep them and keep making sure they're keeping their top players in their own country. But I also think it's also best for Australians to be viewed and seen and played on the world stage. And the world stage is WNBA and it is EuroLeague as well. And I think WNBL is right up there with them, but because it's so segregated, you don't want to take those opportunities away from women. And, Europe, you actually can make a living. You can save for your family, and that's just, it's different from men, which is totally fine. It's nothing against them, but the more opportunity you can give women to make money to be able to by playing their sport, I think is great. So as long as WNBL kind of works that season in with the international leagues, I think that's probably the best way to go. That's a long-winded answer, but
no, perfect.
Yeah.
Speaking about the crossover between the WNBA and the WNBL, I think for me that's something that I think is really important because of the visibility. So if you watch Liz Cambage in the WNBA, you can watch her all year round in the WNBL, or Leilani Mitchell, players that you can go through. And I think that is something, the visibility is what needs to grow, and something that keeps players like yourself and players that go to Europe and things in the people's eye is only going to be a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the only bad thing about that is that individual person really has to beat up their body because they are playing year round.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some type of balance where the athletes can, and because they are human beings, it's to make more money in one contract, but just the nature of the top leagues in the world are so spread out between EuroLeague and WNBA and WNBL that I know that Leilani and Liz, they've had to kind of pick and choose sometimes which league to play in, what best suits them and their personality for that season in their life, of their time in their life or their family. Sometimes you take a contract because you like the location and it's Italy and it's on the beach. Sometimes you take a contract because you really need some money. Maybe there's something going on in your life, your family's not life, you need a bigger contract, and then there's somewhere you have less money, but it's a higher competition, a higher league, a bigger role. So we have lots of opportunity for women, but it's tiring at the same time. And I don't necessarily have a solution for it. I'm not really sure how to fix all those problems. They might just fix themselves, over time. But I do think as long as, I think that's why I think having a shorter WNBL season actually does work, because you're able to, still be in your home country if you are Australian and play here, still have the opportunity to play a short season in Europe or WNBA and be able to still have a couple months off in between those seasons. It does work. But if you're really trying to keep someone, you're going to probably have to pay them. It's kind of like when Diana Taurasi, her Turkish team, if you want someone, you pay them and it'll be an easy decision.
So how was your experience being in the WNBL? Like you said, one of the premier women's leagues in the world.
Yeah, it's been great. This is actually my third team. Like I said before, I was with Melbourne Boomers for 3 seasons, and that was good. It was a totally, another different style again, getting used to even just Australian culture and the way of things and how things go. My third year there, we did go to the grand final with Liz Cambage and Jen O'Hay and stuff, and we ended up losing the last game, but it was still a really good experience playing with great players, learning a lot. And then went to the Sydney Flames. We didn't win as much, but again, I did have a big role, and I did enjoy that. But now with the Caps, I think it's really good for where I am at my career, where I can go in, work hard. They're back-to-back champs, so they know what's happening and what needs to get done, and I just come in and supplement as needed. And it's been a really, really cool environment here, being with the back champs, reigning champs, and we're trying to do it again this year and seeing if we can do it in a different way, different team. But they have a lot of returning players with a couple of us new ones coming in. But I've really enjoyed it. I've been challenged in different ways. I hadn't been challenged in Europe, and Europe challenged me in different ways that haven't been challenged here. So, taking up all these opportunities and experiences on and off the court, I've learned a lot about myself. And I think that's only, if you can take the good and the bad on board, that can't be a negative thing, learning the good and the bad and the in and outs of how you react to things. And I like that challenge of, can I still stay relevant in the game? Can I still make myself useful in different ways, whether it's lots of court time or little court time or lots of shots or little shots or, all these different things. So to me, I like that challenge, and I like pushing myself in different ways. That's why I'm 35 and still playing. And I think women are going to play longer and longer as time goes on. So I do like kind of forging that path and seeing how do I have the versatility to adjust and be versatile on my, on the court and off the court, to be healthy enough and strong enough to, keep playing and being available for my team and things like that. So to me, I just like all the ins and outs of that. And so while these opportunities come up, I'll probably take them. And once they don't, or if I really don't feel it's right, then, I'll stop. But I do love the WNBL. I think, the league is really good. They have a lot of good players. And like I said, that relationship with WNBA is getting more and more, and we're sharing players across the board. So to be able to play with some of the best in the world, I think is a limited opportunity for many, and I'm really not taking it for granted.
And you've got some great young players as well coming through. So you're playing with Jade Melbourne, who's had some amazing games this season, and you've got players like Shyla Heal and Lily Scanlon and Ezzy Mabega, picked up by Seattle. So what's that like when you're playing with someone like Jade on your team, and you can see her? I guess she's just starting her career, isn't she? Going to Arizona State next year. Are you able to offer sort of advice and help her out with things, or do you just sort of let her see how she plays?
Yeah, right now with young kids, and I remember this too, you're just fearless. You don't really understand the situation and how big a moment is or a game. You're literally just like going out and playing a game. You're just balling out, and you're working hard, trying to do the best you can, and you just fly off the seat of your pants, and you just go off your instincts, really. So I think the recipe for winning a championship is having some of those young kids being able to go out there and do that and play free and go, and that's really what we've let Jade do. And even our coach was just like, I don't coach her, I just let her go. And I think that's so true, because I think there's a lot of young kids where they just get beaten down because they've made some young mistakes or rookie mistakes here and there, and then they end up losing all that and then overthinking things, and then they can't reach their potential. So same with Shyla Heal. They're just allowing them to grow, and Ezzy just to grow and just go play free and go do it. Then you have the mid-range, like 25-year-olds who are experienced now they're in a rhythm, and then you have the vets where they can pick and choose, they calm, they're just doing the right things, and then they let the young ones come in and be a bit freer And I think that's really actually the recipe for team success. So you really need to have those young players, and Jay stepped up and has done that well, and she's able to do that with freedom. She doesn't have that the 14 years or even just the 8 years of experience of in and out of long seasons of, I know if this happens, I know that this is going to happen or whatever. She doesn't have that. She can just go, and you really, really have to have that whole package and that whole balance of a team. But no, she's been great for us so far.
How does that compare to playing with, excuse me, compare with playing with Liz Cambage as you did for the Boomers a couple of seasons ago?
Yeah, well, she's going to be, since she's been through more life experience on and off the court, she's going to say, we need to do this and this and this, or this will happen, to where like young players, it would be more of, they're just going out to play like, oh, they didn't realize that would happen, or they didn't realize that was a big shot, So like the experienced ones are, no, when it's this shot clock and this, we actually have to do this or we're not going to make it. Or, hey, that was a great shot. We needed that in that situation, and everything's more thought out and thinking, to where the younger kids, it would just be, you have the older ones thinking it out, you give it to them, they just shoot it. They know that they're supposed to shoot that shot. And it's just perfect, And so, and that's what not that the young kids don't understand an intense situation or a close game or don't understand the X's and O's of basketball. It's not that they don't understand it, it's just the experience of it. So that was a little bit different with Lizzie and things like that. Like should know like a certain situation to call when this certain time needs it or whatnot. So it's just a little bit more of that X's and O's. And I've been here before. If we don't do this, this will happen. Or if we do this, this could happen, and so on.
You alluded to it earlier, just being able to play with some of the best players on the planet. Now, I've never had that opportunity. Caz, I don't think you have either.
No.
Just what is that like to be playing the game in that sort of company? And does it make certain things easier? Because if you're feeding Liz Cambage in the post, that's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's an honor to play with people who have worked really hard and have proven themselves on a big stage. And so you're really just trying to pick up different cues from them or different things from them that will help your game, but that also will help the team win. That's still the number one important thing. And when you have big players on your team, again, it's a bit of a load off your own shoulders because they're going to take some of that load. And then learning to say, again, just because you're the stud or the star, it's still not all on you. And that's a good thing about basketball is we can share that load and we can share that pressure and we can, just trying to figure out basically like a puzzle, how we all fit. You might have a main piece or the main part of that puzzle in that middle, but everything still has to work around it to be able to, for it to come together. And that's fun. It's like solving a problem, solving an issue, finding a solution for different things. So yeah, playing with those people is definitely awesome, and learning how to fit in with them is a challenge in itself. And sometimes that does take time. But if you can get it right, you can go a long way.
Talking about going a long way, how's the current season going for you? The other day, you came through a tough one against the mighty Perth Lynx. Just how's the season gone overall?
I think we are 6-1 now, 7-1. And yeah, so is it 7-1?
Yeah, sorry.
Games have gone by so
after
fast.
last night.
Yeah, that I'm just like, wait, we did just play yesterday, so therefore, we just lost our very first game in overtime. We were missing 3 of our players, so we really gave it a good fight. But we still have been challenged along the way. We're on a 7-game winning streak, but it hasn't necessarily felt like that the whole time. It's been a dogfight. The Sydney game was a bit closer than we wanted as well. That was kind of tough to pull out. And yeah, the Perth Lynx, they were tough, but just goes to show, like back-to-back champs doesn't matter. Anyone can play on any given night. And you have to really respect everyone, and you have to be on your A game, especially with just 13 games this season. You can't afford to lose a few and still think that you're going to make finals. But I think the thing that we always talk about is that we're pretty tough. Like we have talent and we have depth, but we're actually tough. We're kind of gritty. And I really like that, because even when we don't score or it looks ugly, we still play defense. We still get stops. So it's still going to look ugly for them too. and so I think we do actually win by the old saying of defense, wins games, rebounds wins championships, whatever that saying is. It actually, I think, is pretty true for us. And I think that's how they've won the last 2 years. Even last year when I didn't realize I was going to come and play for them, I was just like, man, it doesn't look pretty, but they always get the job done. You cannot relax, your guard or let your guard down playing the Capitals, even when you think that they're not scoring. Because, not scoring, it can be annoying, and we kind of faced that in Perth and Sydney. It was kind of tough for us, but that's what other teams feel all the time when we play them, and that's what we want them to feel when they have to go against our defense. So the season's going well as far as we've been able to win. We've been able to pull out some tough ones. But we are still laser-like focused, on our toes, respecting everyone, honing in our game plan, understanding that we don't take anyone for granted and respect everyone's game.
Now, you had a huge, excuse me, sorry. You had a huge win last week over the Southside Flyers in a repeat of the last year's grand final.
Yeah.
Just how big is that for a statement to show that, no, we are the champs and we are coming for this again?
Yeah, that was a statement. They have like 10 Opals players on their team, or have at least represented the Opals at some point in their career, and have a lot of game experience. But they all haven't played together either, and that's why it's a team sport. So, we knew that, like Canberra, we've all played together. We've all played together except for me and one other girl, really. So they have that team chemistry and all that stuff, which is definitely stronger than any individual. But both of our teams are deep. We understand that even though we kind of beat them handily and we were in control the whole game, we know that that's not going to be the South Side that we face the next time. We definitely understand that. We caught them sleeping a little bit. They know it. We know it. So going into the next time that we play them, I don't think we're going to have that swagger of, oh, we beat them. It's going to be like, okay, they know what we can bring. They're going to be on their A game, and we are going to have to grind this one out. So, we respect them just as much, even though, we beat them handily. We had a lot of good things going our way, and we created that energy. So I think it was good on us, but it may not be as easy to create that energy the next time we see them. I think we're capable of doing that again. But it definitely was a fun statement. However, we played Perth 2 days later, and, we weren't able to turn on as easily, or weren't able to, show the league again that we're, the best of the best. That we showed a bit of vulnerability. But the good thing was we showed our vulnerability, and we were able to get over the finish line. So, and then that to me shows more toughness and resilience than winning when everything's going right in a certain game and everything's going your way. So the Perth game was kind of like, this is tough, and we got it.
So I was going to say, in terms of like those gritty wins, like that is like the what was it they say, like the win of a champion, or it's like, oh, only a championship winning team wins a game like that. Is that how you guys felt after that Perth game? Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of teams that would have lost that, and we almost did. We really hit 3 threes in under a minute, but we still hit 3 threes under the minute and still kept ourselves in a chance of winning that game. We kept ourselves relevant because we were able to play defense that second half. But I think it's always those rebound games after a big game when it just seemed so easy for us, even though we know it's had nothing to do with Southside, because if they were a bad team or that we're way better, it was just an easy game and it fell right. Everything fell our way. In the next game, we hardly make anything. So it just it shows that we are tough because we're able to win against a rebound game like that. But one less shot, if we missed just one of those threes, could have gone to overtime, or we could have just lost. So that was one to really grit out. And then obviously the Bendigo game, I think was good for us because we actually won that in a way that we wanted to win, in a way that we wanted to play.
And is it to, obviously you're almost playing a game every other day, every 3 days,
Yeah.
and is that really tough as a bit of a, it's obviously different to last season. How do you deal with just having sort of one day off in between? You obviously can't be like, oh, we won that one, let's soak on it for a bit. You've got to just move on to the next one.
Yep. Short-term memories, it has to happen. I usually give myself like the night to think about that, whether it's good, bad, whatever. Allow yourself to learn. So, you allow yourself to learn. And then you go the next day, you hear what the coach has to say, hey, there's lots of things to learn from this game, good and bad. Let's just focus on these 3. Let's implement this into our next game. Our next game is so-and-so. And then we start going into the scout. So usually we have that night, and then we just go, right into the next thing, which can seem kind of frantic and busy. But at the same time, you play sports, or we play basketball to play games. So it's fun playing lots of games. So as long as you know how to recover right mentally and physically, it can be a lot of fun. Like the sub life can be a lot of fun playing a lot of games every week.
Now, obviously, with your strength and conditioning, I don't want to say background, but side ground.
Yeah.
Do you have teammates coming up to you? Do you have young teammates coming up to you, being like, "How do I get my body right? Because this is killing me." You don't need to name names.
No, well, we have a great strength and conditioning coach, and most of the teams do. So I have great conversations with them, whether we agree on everything or disagree on everything, whatever it is. We have mutual respect for how to, make a team strong and healthy and reach their potential. So, yeah, there are times when someone's like, oh, my knee hurts. I know that Britt's gone through something with her knee, oh, what did you do? Oh, this is what I did, did for a certain situation. But we usually have strength and conditioning coaches for the team that do step in and say, this is, the basics of doing this. And then, of course, they're always really good. And, oh, you've done this before? Go ahead and do that, because that definitely works for you. Oh, and that might work for so-and-so as well. Okay, great. So there's really always a collaboration, because even though it's a team sport, we're still individual people with individual needs, individual histories, background, ages, sizes, and that's just the reality of being in a team sport, that we're not just all one person, even though we're trying to be one on the court. Off the court, everybody kind of does, looks a bit different. So strength and conditioning coach, there's always a basic template of what kind of staples that you really need. And then each individual kind of has their own thing. But yeah, I do get a lot of questions on a lot of things of how I eat. What do I do to take care of myself? When you went through that, what did you do here? If I hear that someone is sore, let's say, and our strength conditioning isn't, or, coach isn't around or whatever, oh yeah, this really helps that. Okay, yeah, great, thanks. So we're able to help each other in many ways.
I've just got a few slightly random, maybe slightly parochial questions to Australian culture and sport, because I like those things. But Caz, before I go on a weird one.
I was just going to say, so you've come from Ohio, you're in Australia at the moment. Do you ever sort of look back and think like, wow, that's a pretty cool career I've had? And can you pick, I don't know, maybe it's too early to say, can you pick so far what your favorite moment has been?
Yeah, no, sometimes I do. I think I'll reflect more probably when I'm totally done playing, when you actually have time to think about it, because the years do fly by. I don't know how 14 years flies by, or if you add the 4 years in college, I don't know how 18 years go by, and then 4 years in high school, I don't know how 22 years go by, so there are certain times where maybe a certain memory or moment will come up, or a reminder, and then I'll just kind of reflect on that moment. But I don't know if I have a favorite. I think I have different things that really do stick out, even just in Belgium, learning to play in a different language. That's just, it's not one specific moment, but it's just one specific feeling or experience. Coming back from injuries, things like that. I tore my ACL in Sweden. How did I come back from that? I'm being thankful I got a contract, even after a big injury like that. And that's when I started coaching strength and conditioning more and understanding that whole experience and feeling. of that, I suppose. And then even in Australia, just being challenged in different ways, playing with some of the top players in the world, having different roles. I think it's just definitely more of experiences. And then every once in a while, a specific reminder will come up about a certain moment. But I don't know if I have one moment that's greater than the other. I think they all have served their purpose to kind of create my career as one whole thing, or even me as a person right now, or even me as a coach, especially when I have time to really start developing, the coaching side of things. Right now, it's Be Smart Athletic is my Instagram handle, and my website will be coming up soon. Just like changing it all at the moment, but I've just come up with like a smart athlete program, and I've done that my own program the last 8 months. I've just done it myself first before I really, push it. And I've never felt better or younger, and I've never felt, greater. And so I've been able to coach most of my clients right now are online during season, where I'm able to coach their form and send in technique as if I were there in person. Try to really keep that personable ability that, the reason they're signing up to my program is because it's me coaching it, and I'm still coaching, and being able to do that whether I'm with you or not. When the season's done, I'll do a lot of more in-person coaching as well. But the Smart Athlete program has been like, something that again comes from not a certain moment in my career, but that career as a whole, and then being able to continue the basketball career moments as a whole into the Smart Athlete program, whether I'm playing basketball or not anymore. That kind of carries on or represents the important things of what I've learned and done in my basketball career, and then now coaching at others and seeing, okay, it's providing results. It provides results on myself, and now it has with other people, being a really well-rounded athlete and so on. So I think it's just kind of like all one chunk and experience. And maybe, the biggest takeaway from my career is probably the Smart Athlete, the coaching career part of it, of what's going to happen when my career is done.
That's awesome.
In terms of your Be Smart athletic training, do you work cross code? Do you work with players from maybe AFLW or maybe some soccer players? Have you branched out from just basketball? Yeah.
So I do have a few footy players that have done it as well. And then I had this girl that might be interested in doing it as well, who's a softball player from the States too. And that's a good thing about being online, is you're able to have a bigger reach, and you're able to help as many people as fast as possible because you had that online thing set up. But it's cross code because, again, like I said, an athlete to me is anyone who runs, walks, jumps, picks things up, picks kids up, and everyone wants to be able to play or be an athlete, and they want to do it for a long time. They don't want to say, oh, I'm too old or too stiff to do this or that. You want to have the ability to do anything, anywhere, at any time. It doesn't even have to be at a high level. But when you're 80, you want to be able to get up on your own, to sit down on your own, to do some things on your own, to be independent. So you want to be able to play or be versatile in that play, whether that's a sport, an actual sport, and you're a professional, or your sport of life. You want to be able to be versatile. And so my program is the versatility of strength, the versatility of different skills. It can be basketball skills, it can be juggling, it can be certain weightlifting skills, body weight skills. I have programs without weights, I have programs with weights. So my three main things is versatility, but to be able to show that versatility, you need to be pain-free. So my program is all about just preparing your body and making it strong and not tearing it down. You want everything to be constructive, not destructive. So all the movements, it's really just allowing for more soft muscle tissue around your joints, for your joints to feel good, flexibility and range, so you can reach for something. You can bend over and pick up a pencil and have a rounded back and it be okay with that, and that's because that's life. Life is unpredictable. So pain-free versatility, and you want to be able to do that for a long time. Longevity, I've had a long career, and there's certain staples in that have allowed me to have longevity. And I want to be able to have longevity, and my clients to be able to have longevity in whatever their sport is, for however long they live, and I think that's going to help their quality of life and to get the most out of life. So, yeah.
There's a couple of cross-code athletes, again, thinking about AFLW. Was that ever a temptation when you saw that I was starting? You'd been over there the duration of the AFLW. Were you ever tempted to put on the boots and go for a tryout?
No. I do love the sport, though. I do love the sport, and I love watching it, and I think it would be fun. But I just didn't grow up playing it at all. I've only found out about the sport, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So me kicking a ball is pretty embarrassing. One, I'm sure if someone taught me and I practiced it for like 6 months straight, I'd be like, okay, got this. But like the tackling and the marking and all that stuff, I think it would be fun. Being outside, all that stuff. But when that came out, that was like, 3 or 4 years ago. It would have been 32, 33. I just don't think it was just a bit too late and too new to the sport. But if I'd grown up here, if I was like, let's say I was 10 right now and AFLW came out, I'm sure I'd be out there trying it 100%.
Yeah, I can attest, having played the sport for a season. It's amazing. It is such good fun. I've got a jersey behind me. I keep telling GB Centre Hannah Shaw she should give it a go, give it a whirl.
That's good. Yes, she should.
So just one final one regarding your time in Australia. You're obviously playing for the Canberra Capitals. Have you relocated? Have you located to Canberra at all, or because it's just hub life, you're wherever you were previously located?
Yeah, I was supposed to for this season, the 6-month season or whatever it was, and be hosted up there. And I was this season for the preseason. So for that month and a half. So I had 2 weeks quarantine, like hard quarantine, coming from a hot spot, in Victoria, Melbourne, Victoria. So I was the only player on my team that had to do that. But there were a few players in the league, maybe 12 of us, that came from Victoria hotspot going out to interstate teams and had to quarantine for 2 weeks. But the Capitals were great with that. So, we got a government certified quarantine place, did that for 2 weeks. And then I stayed in the team, where they host apartments and host up their players or their imports and stuff, and their sponsorships were able to handle that, which is great. So I was there in Canberra for just that month preseason. Instead of sticking that out for the whole season, that's when we all left for the hubs.
How do you find Canberra?
Well, I liked it for the month I was there. But it seemed, I liked it because they're all about basketball. I think they really support the Capitals. And every time I've, come and played against the Capitals, it's always been a packed out house and with a really good environment. So I really liked that. And even just the center is really nice. Everything's within walking distance and quite a variety of different foods and places and shops. And, the people are friendly and everything. So my experience there was actually really good. Yeah. So too bad it was cut short, but that's just how it is. So I'm sure I'll be back there visiting at some point again.
I just have a couple of stock standard questions I ask most, if everybody that I interview. So just firstly, who's your favorite player growing up?
Probably Manu Ginobili from the San Antonio Spurs NBA. I just liked, he was just unassuming, unexpected, and just, does all these clever things, clever moves. He's so skilled, and just unpredictable. He made tough shots, things that you didn't think were going to go in, but I just really enjoyed him playing. So he was one of my favorites, watching him and his skill level and all that. But yeah, he's definitely my favorite. But of course, I am a LeBron James fan. I think he makes his teammates better. We did graduate the same year. And my claim to fame, I averaged more points my senior in high school than he did.
Nice.
Boom. We were the top 2 men, boy and girl, beat him. So therefore, I'm better than LeBron.
Yeah. You can't argue with that. It's science. It's there. It's there in the numbers. It's black and white.
What was that?
It's there in the numbers. It's black and white. It's definitive.
Fact, don't lie.
Is there a team that you root for, that you support in anywhere in the world in basketball?
Well, besides the Canberra Capitals,
Naturally.
I love the San Antonio Spurs just because of their culture and how they do things and how they've won, how they've developed players and getting the most out of players of, people that aren't even drafted coming in and being able to really help them reach their potential and do it in a team way. I really love their culture. But the only thing is with NBA, there's trades that happen all the time. So I do go for players as well, just because they're switching. It's hard to just stick with a team and be, loyal to just a club. But my club is the San Antonio Spurs because I love how they do things. I don't think a club does it better, but I will still support like a LeBron or Kawhi Leonard, because I enjoy watching them play. And, things get traded. People get traded all the time. It's really hard to stick to just one club. So I decided to not cheer for the jersey or the material. I'll cheer for the person as well.
Where's your favorite place to play basketball?
I'm not really sure. Do you mean like in my league?
I mean anywhere in the world. It could be a barn in Ohio, as was a legitimate answer from somebody at one time.
Oh, that's really funny. I'm not really sure. However, our home games, and this is all like in my mind, when I played for the Melbourne Boomers at State Basketball Center, we had a really good home crowd there. It was always like loud and people came. We had a few thousand, and the atmosphere was like awesome, bar none. And then my team in Sweden, up all the way up there in Northland in the Icicles, just again that environment of people and just like the energy, that was always cool. So I say at this point that just sticks out into my head. Who knows if I remember, but yeah, probably Melbourne, Australia, and then all the way up in Luleå, Sweden.
Fantastic. Well, Caz, have you got anything?
Just one sort of just general question, I guess, again about the women's game. Have you seen sort of a transformation in the way it's played, or it's covered? The people getting more interested in it, young girls maybe playing more than they would do, and the coverage of it is in your league. Have you seen that change? Do you think it's only going to get better?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've only been here for 6 years, so I don't 100% know exactly what it was like before, but from what people are telling me, and just between these 6 years that I've been here, I think basketball is actually getting more and more popular. We're getting better TV deals, and even just the help of NBL, the men's league, they're getting a bit better, and they're really trying to be a pathway for NBA. So just that combination right there, I think more and more boys and girls are playing basketball, at least in this generation, for sure, especially when the Golden State Warriors went crazy and the Steph Currys and, the small kids out there. I think more kids could relate to that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I just think, with that and the TV deals for women, I think it's actually going to start becoming more and more popular. But here in Australia, it's really hard to beat AFL. It's hard to beat netball. It's hard to beat cricket. That's just in their culture. Type thing, but I think it will be at least more on the map compared to what it was.
Sorry, I lied. I have one more question, but it's more broadly about Australian basketball. When you had LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton coming over and playing this season in the NBL, how did Australia respond to that?
Well, I think they loved it. I mean, those are two big superstars, and it'll be interesting how they do this upcoming season. In the NBA, and if they do well, I think it's going to put Australia even more so on the map. In the women's world, Australia is on the world map. In the men's, I understand that there are some Aussie men playing in NBA, obviously, with Patty Mills and Ben Simmons and all that. But I think having those two guys, LaMelo and RJ, coming and playing, I think that's just, again, it's just like you said, that visibility, like all of Australia, whoever's gone to those games or follows basketball is now going to tune into NBA and see that and think it's possible and just create the pathways for both men and women, WNBL, NBL, and then WNBA and NBA, and keep that relationship going. It could really be interesting kind of what that crossover and relationship, would really, really be like. So I really hope we can keep that up and keep bringing some big name players and keep swapping back and forth. I think that'd be great for that great for the game, and more people will be watching.
Well, thank you so much, Britt Smart, for your time this morning, this evening, for you taking the time out to talk to us about your career and about this season currently. So huge thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate that. And I love what you're doing, out there and giving people a voice, and especially women athletes. And, little girls can look up and, actually see someone that looks like them and be able to think they can do it too. I think that's really, really important. So I appreciate all that you do. And thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. Thank you. Where can people find you on social media if they want to follow Britt Smart?
Yeah, right now it's Be Smart Athletic on Instagram. And if you just follow that and stay tuned to that, my website will then be coming out as well, which will be smartathletic.com. So just follow me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on that. I was never a huge social media person, but if you want to help as many people as fast as possible, that definitely is the way to do it. And you can use social media in a great way to actually help people and save people and be encouragement to people. So that's what I'm using it for. And so, yeah, find me on there.
All right. Thank you so much, Caz.
Sorry, I was just saying all the WNBL games are on the FIBA International YouTube page, so people can watch them on there as well, if you're outside of Australia.
Yeah, which is my family. So good job reminding me.
And yeah, it's a great way to start the day. Wake up, put on some elite level women's basketball. What more could you possibly want, desire, and need in your life?
Yeah, nothing else.
Nothing else. And then when you've watched that, check out the Caz and Daz show every Thursday, 8 p.m. British time on YouTube, where Caz and Daz, that's me, I'm Daz, we break down all the world of women's basketball, including the WNBL Australia. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again to Britt Smart for joining us on this interview. And we'll speak to you again very soon.